Good morning, guys. So it's February 22nd today. We've basically gone from minus 36. Remember when the S690 Combine showed up? It is now plus 5. Plus 5. And with a pretty good wind blowing, which actually doesn't feel like plus 5. But things are melting. So if you don't like the weather in Saskatchewan, just wait a few days and it will go from one extreme to the next. That is normal for us. Those big, huge temperature swings, that's what really frosts up the chickpeas in the bags and it frosts up the grain in the bins and so on and so forth. So anyways, what we're doing here is we only got about 5 or so bags left. Thank goodness it's basically spring. Mike, I have some questions. When do you typically have all your bags picked up? Well, we're pretty much on track. We might even be a little early. Sometimes we go mid-March before we get them all picked up. But we've been just working overtime here because last time it wasn't so fun with all the slop and the water melts into the holes that all the animals make and so on and so forth, and you have a mess. So bags are good. It's just temporary bag. It is only temporary storage. You got to remember that, and you want to get them picked up as soon as possible. So we're just going to run down here. We're going to try and scrape some of this snow away to keep it from melting too much into the bags. It's probably going to be quite icy. I doubt I'm going to do a very good job. And hopefully we're going to get these last few bags picked up this week. Well, Mike, I have some questions. So what is the earliest you've ever seeded? And when do you think you're going to start seeding? Well, on an average, we probably start mid-April. Around that 20th of April, that is pretty much an average start time for us. We have seeded as early as March 28th, I think. March 28th. Now, typically, if you're seeding in March, it's super dry. It's not normally real good. It's quite dry out here right now, and it's only February, so don't worry. We're not going to be seeding in March. I don't think so. It's not warm enough. These are the last of our bags. And what happens is not much snow here, but all this is running down into the bags. Well, Mike, why'd you put them there? Well, it seemed like a good idea when it was 10 o'clock at night and you were just dropping bags. I'm joking. These bags we actually picked out of the bins. And our goal was to have these picked up, I don't know, about 3 months ago. Mostly because they're supposed to be sold. They're not supposed to be here, you guys. They're supposed to be gone. Well, Mike, if they're supposed to be gone, then why are they here? That's a great question. Let me tell you a little bit about this. So, farmers can, at least up here in Western Canada, we can grow what we want. We can sell to whoever we want, and for the most part, and you can pretty much sell it at whatever price you want to contract it at. So, for example, if we grew chickpeas, some of these are chickpeas, we grow them. Right now, there's a pretty crappy price on chickpeas. You pretty much could give them away, or you can't give them away, I should probably say. So, you know what? As a farmer, we can either sell them for the giveaway price, take what we get, or we can sit on them in hopes and market them in hopes that maybe, okay, well, if no one's going to seed them, maybe the price will come up. You know, understand what I'm saying? So that is the freedom of the farmer, and that is awesome. Now, when a farmer chooses to contract his grain, it could be wheat, durum, canola, chickpeas, lentils, it doesn't matter. You can also choose typically the delivery months. So most elevators will kind of give you a bit of a buffer zone. So like say, I don't know, we're contract durum. By the time, you normally don't want to contract too much before you actually have it harvested, because what happens if there's no act of God? An act of God means, an act of God clause in a contract means if a great big hailstorm came through, you wouldn't have to produce what you contracted, because that was an act of God. But there is a lot of contracts without an act of God. So say you contract 10,000 bushels. I'm going to use that as a round number, okay? And you contracted that at, say, I don't know, $5, $50,000. Well, if you don't have an act of God in there and it got hailed out, you might have to produce $50,000 worth of grain, and you just lost your 10,000 bushels. You don't have any money to produce, but you have to produce that because you signed a contract without an act of God clause. Now, let's continue on to forward contracting. So maybe you want to hedge a little bit. So say that 10,000 bushels at $5, maybe that was your hedge, okay? So say you just contracted 10 bushels an acre. So really, you have a whole pile more bushels, or you should have, so that, you know, it's okay to forward contract, just don't get too crazy, you know what I mean? Now, 10% is quite conservative. I know a lot of guys go up to 50%. But anyway, that's just the farmer preference. He can choose whatever he would like to do. That's awesome. Now, the things that are out of the farmer's control, and this is all farmers. I'm not just talking about me. This is all farmers. These are all things that farmers face every day. So say we want to contract some durum. And we want to move that durum. We've combined it. We know what crop we have there. We actually have that grain in a bag or in a bin. So we know we have 10,000 bushels of durum that we actually want to sell. I want to move that 10,000 bushels of durum in the month of October. Okay, it's off. We combine in September. We got bills to pay. It's got to get moved in October to pay our bills. We sign a contract, say movement will be in October at this price. Awesome. Problem is, that doesn't always work that way. Hold on, I'm just going to rest my arm here. That doesn't always work that way. Why doesn't that work that way, Mike? That's a very good question. The farmer is always at the short end of the stick. I'm not complaining, but the farmer is typically always at the short end of the stick. If, for some reason, the farmer broke down, he was not able to produce, or say, not produce, he was not able to get his 10,000 bushels moved in that month of October, well, then he can be penalized. But if a train was for some reason to get derailed somewhere, maybe a train's just backlogged, maybe there's protesters standing on the tracks stopping all trains from freaking moving, or maybe the elevator broke down. Maybe something happened with their scale. Maybe something happened with their leg. Maybe something happened. Maybe the boats are late. Maybe the boats are on strike. Maybe the trains are on strike. Guess what? You're not moving your 10,000 bushels in October. They might just move them. Maybe you get to move that 10,000 bushels in, I don't know, January, February of the following year into the new year. Well, guess what? You had bills you needed to pay. That's a problem. Not for them, but for you. Yes, you're right. You did sign a contract saying that both parties agreed that that was going to be moved. You're right. No, there is not going to be anything ever happen. No penalizing happen to the terminals or the railway or the boats or anything like that. But if the farmer didn't produce it in that month, oh, there would be penalties. So it's very one-sided, and that's what farmers always have to deal with. Now, 10,000 bushels is a pretty small number, okay? A lot of farmers are dealing in hundreds of thousands of bushels because they have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of bills and fertilizer and chemical and so on, or millions of dollars in bills, okay? Millions. And they got to get their grain moved, and they got to get it moved quickly. So here's a frustration. Another frustrating part is now, see, down here, we have to haul it 100 miles one way. It's a long haul. It takes pretty much all winter for us to get our grain out. If you want to hire it done, you can do that, but you're going to pay it through the nose to do it. So, since we have trucks and we got to keep our guys busy, we choose to hire it and try to keep as much money in the farm as possible. That's a great thing. Most farmers try and do that. But if all of a sudden, oh, by the way, I should note, we're secondary weights until freeze-up. Freeze-up's typically mid-November. Mike, what is freeze-up? Freeze-up means is when it gets cold enough, minus 20, minus 30, it freezes the ground solid. You can no longer hurt the roads or pavement or anything because the ground is froze freaking solid. So you are legally allowed to haul a lot more. So that is great because you're getting more bang for your buck when you're hauling it 100 miles, right? You don't want to make little loads. You want to make big loads. So you try and get as much hauled out during the winter weights, they're called winter weights, primary weights, as you physically can. So maybe you contracted maybe 75% of your movement, say mid-November to mid-February. That's pretty much a guaranteed winter weights haul. But if all of a sudden there's a bunch of delays, the trains are delayed, there's a whole pile of stuff going on, they're like, yeah, well, it looks like we'll let you haul about 20% of that 75%, and the rest you're going to have to do in the spring. Well, that's a big problem. Like, why is that such a problem? Why can't you just haul it later, buddy? Well, now you're going back down the secondary weights. Now you're burning a lot more fuel. You're punching the highway out. You're actually wrecking the highway that you're driving on. And then when spring rolls around, yes, spring typically about March, April, May. I can't remember how long it lasts for. You guys would. But then you get spring road bans. Mike, what is spring road bans? That is actually a very good question. Spring road bans is when, oh, by the way, you can no longer take winter, big boy loads. You can't even take secondary, which is your typical summer load. You're down to spring road ban, which is you might as well not even drive because in a Super B you can take like, I don't know, like 800 bushel or something. Like it's costing you more than fuel to get it up there from the little wee bit that you're taking. So basically they want you to shut all trucks down until the roads heal up, because when the frost is coming out of the grounds, it puts a lot of it jeopardizes the integrity of the highways. And yes, we have to drive on those, and no, we don't want to wreck those. You're right, but it's frustrating if you didn't get all your grain out. Now you're going to pay through the nose to get it hauled out secondary weights in the spring and summer after the road bans. Mike, why? Because you probably can't physically do that. Why not? Why? Because you're seeding. All your crew is seeding. You're spraying. You're fungiciding. Guess what? Your summer's busy. You absolutely have no time to haul, and all the trucks are hauling the Super B's worth of fert and seed out to your drills. Now you have to get this custom done on summer weight. So these are all just little things that farmers always have to face, and it would really suck if you had a whole whack of bills due and then they're like, yeah, we're not going to take all your grain until, like, I don't know, spring or something. So these are just little frustrations. So basically the moral of the long story that Mike just told is these bags shouldn't be here, but they are. So we'll move them twice because we like to do that. Farmers like to buy high, sell low. It's just a funny meme all of us farmers we talk about, because whenever we choose to contract, and we're allowed to choose, it seems like any time we contract something, yeah, that's a good price. As soon as we contract, the price goes up. And then as soon as we like lock in our fertilizer contracts, we're like, yeah, I think we got a good price. Fertilizer goes down. So now we just like to say that we like to buy high, sell low. So anyway, that's enough man-room for right now, so let's start plowing some snow. Well, Mike, I have more questions. This whole forward contracting thing, hedging in things, do you do that, or do you have people that do that, or do you pay people to do that? Or another great question. Typically my older brother, Terry, he does all the marketing. We try and break things up between us brothers, because us three brothers with our parents semi-retired, we run the farm. It's a family farm if you're newly subscribed. And so I do more like the inputs, like your fertilizer, your crop rotations, your seed treatments, your chemicals. You know, I do more front load. And my older brother, Terry, he does more like the back end. Each very important. There is no person that is more or less important than the other. It's a team that keeps everything running. So for example, that would be like the leg saying, well, I'm more important than the right eye. That doesn't even make sense, because without the right leg you can't walk, and without an eye you can't really see too good. Like I said, you got your left one, but your visibility is definitely down by 50%. So anyways, yeah, we do kind of break things up so everybody kind of has their portfolios. That way we can try to keep clean management without overlapping. So anyway, I'm fortunate. I don't have to do too much marketing. Thank goodness. My older brother's there for that. I do more forward fertilizer contracting and so on and so forth like that. So, sorry about that. Anyways, moving on to why we're actually here. There's snowbanks here. We're trying to get as close to these bags without tearing into the bag to push all this out. See how everything's melting? It's just going to be a sloppy mess, and water's going to get into those bags. And so we're going to try and push the snow up and over the hill, so when it melts, it can go that way and divert from the bags. So we're just trying to see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. It's pretty icy. I'm not doing a very good job here. We do have a grader. Might have to go for that, but yeah, I'm just kind of going right up and over these snowbanks. Just trying to get as much snow away. Like that's not good, right? Because the water's just going to pool here. Because typically the flow would go this way, and that bag's sitting there, and then there's a hill right there, so it's just going to pool here. And if there's any cracks, any sort of a hole, which there guaranteed will be, water will just enter your bag and it will have nowhere to go. So that's always fun. We look forward to those. You're right. After a couple hours pushing snow, it's time to go for lunch. And when you live close to home, you just take the tractor. After all, you can do 34 miles an hour. I've been known to drive the tractor through the McDonald's drive-thru in Swift Currents, so taking one home for lunch is well, it's second nature, I guess. All right, lunch is over. It was good. Just on our way back to the farm here, as you can see. Don't worry, I don't have very far to go. So I think the plan is now we're going to actually start picking up some of these bags. We're hoping to get a demo with a bag extractor, but I don't know if that's going to happen now, just due to we probably should start picking up these bags right away. We were trying to reserve a few bags for another day or two here so we can get the demo, but we'll see how this goes. As you can see, the water is all melting around here. It's pooling and starting to look like spring. That's actually not good. We prefer not to be like that. Not yet. See the frost lines on the fert tanks there? That means that liquid fertilizer is still quite cold in there. Another news, this auger, which we've been using for fertilizer, the gearbox kind of crapped the bed, so we have to go get a new gearbox. And then we're working on bearings on the Degelman Pro Till there. We actually have that roller off. Let's go take a peek at that actually. Right here, that's the fertilizer, because we use fertilizer. We pulled the gearbox off. We have to go for a new gearbox now. They're quite expensive. We're doing bearings on the Degelman Pro Till. And let me show you what this looks like. See if you can see these actually dent. So we've never had these off before because we never had to do the bearings, but it's just steel inside with a rubber packer over it. I don't know, for some reason I thought it was all rubber packer, but that doesn't make sense because how are you ever going to mount a bearing in there? Duh. Anyways, it's the first time we've had them off. Look at the dents in there, eh? No, that's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be round all the way through. So they actually do dent. Mike, how do they dent? Great question. Hit a rock, hit something hard really fast, and you just you dent this. You can see it right along here. Right there's a bit of a caved in spot. So anyway, we're just doing some maintenance here because spring is a-coming. So that's it. We're calling it quits here. Well, I am with you guys because I got to get to work, and hopefully I answered some of your questions. And I'll see you on the flipper. So a little update. Yeah, you're right, we're back. We're actually going to come down here in the morning, and we're going to pick up one bag, and then Wednesday, I think it's actually supposed to be cooler. It's supposed to freeze down to -8 on Tuesday night and get to a high of 0 Wednesday. So hopefully we can get 2 bags picked up that day. Maybe we can get 3. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, we're not going to come down here just today just due to there's a lot of water rolling around, and it's not a big deal because the ground still froze. As you can see this, there's actually water. Yep, this is what we're working with. We're piling, there's a big snow pile there, another one over there, so on and so forth. Here, I'll just turn around here. Right, like that. So I'm just kind of pulling some of the snow back. I kind of took a chunk off the front of that bag. Whoops! So anyways, we don't like getting mud in the duals of the semis if we don't have to, especially because it will freeze there, and then you'll knock your duals out of alignment, you know, because all of a sudden you're going to have a bunch of weight in them. You never go down the highway? Ever go down the highway when you got snow or ice in your front tires and your steering wheels go... Yeah, we don't want to do that. Not if we don't have to, so, and I don't think we have to. We're not quite to that point yet. So I'm going to keep clearing up all this snow. The water is running off the hill. I'm going to keep kind of sweeping it along, so on and so forth. Here, let me show you. That's the joys of spring. That could be going right into our grain bag. Yep. So, and we don't really want that. Anyway, guys, I'm going to keep going. Adios. All right. Yeah, we're back again. So I've cleaned up about as much snow as that I can around here. Most of this is just ice now. And so I've peeled a lot of the snow away from that, as you can see, that bag. I've done that to both sides of all these bags. And this pool of water is not going to go over the hill. It's actually going to sit right here. So I just wanted to show you this example. Sorry about the wind. I guess it might, if it gets big enough, it'll go over the hill, but it's pretty much going to pool right here. So if you have any holes in any of the bottom of this bag, hopefully we don't, this water will actually be underneath the ice, and it will just get into that bag, and it will just flow all the way down, right? So that's just what I wanted to show you. Yeah, you guys get the idea. Okay, yeah, you got it. You got it. You know what's even crazier to think about? Is it was -36 a few days ago. A few days ago, you guys. Seriously. It would have been better if it would have stayed -36. Even though it takes twice as long to do anything, it would have been a lot better.